What is up, everybody? This is Adam. Welcome back to Fouled Out. Matt is going to be joining me in just a moment for our last podcast before the NFL draft. Today, we will be going over the current Vegas odds for the top 10 picks in the draft, as well as some of the other interesting odds that we can find on DraftKings. And the odds are never a perfect guide to who's going to go where and what's going to happen, but I think it can tell us a lot. And the odds have been changing like crazy all day since I did my notes this morning to now when we're going to record. And I'm sure by the time you guys hear this, either the Wednesday that it's coming out on the 22nd or draft day on the 23rd, that the odds will have changed again. So we're going to break those down and look into what they tell us about what is going to happen Thursday night at the NFL draft. That's right. It is time to go. But before we get started, just a reminder, you can reach out to us, fouledoutsports@gmail.com. Really appreciate you guys listening. We always love to hear from you. Also, check the podcast out on YouTube. Give us a like and subscribe over there to help us grow that. Reach out to us. You want to talk hockey playoffs, NBA playoffs. The Bruins are playing the Sabres in game 2 of that series right now. So if you hear random cheering or swearing, you'll know where that's coming from. Brutal loss in game 1 for the Bruins. So we'll see if they can bounce back today. But for now, let's grab Matt. Let's talk NFL draft odds. Let's go. All right, Matt is here. Matt, happy draft week.
Adam, how is your head with everything that has happened?
There is so much going on. Since the last time we talked, not only was a top 10 pick traded, but we also, on the last pod, I was talking about how the Patriots won't draft a wide receiver because we're trading for A.J. Brown. And since then, there's been numerous reports by like Adam Schefter and all these other people. Basically, like, almost seems like they're trying to erase what Diana Rossini
said. Trying to erase the deep and hard work that Diana Rossini put into that.
That's good work. But it's been a crazy week. So, I mean, first things first, like I said, there was a top 10 pick was traded after we recorded. So we did our whole mock draft, and then the Bengals had to go and mess it up by giving number 10 to the New York Giants for interior defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence. I think my initial reaction was stunned silence. And my second reaction was to send it to you so we could talk about it. How do you feel about the Dexter Lawrence trade?
So I understand the impulse. It sounds like Dexter Lawrence and his representation did do a 1-year extension, so they do have him for next year, but you cannot trade away a first-round pick, let alone the 10th overall pick, for just 2 years of a player. And that brings me back to, okay, so either this is a 2-year rental, or the Cincinnati Bengals have learned absolutely nothing from paying both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, because they're seriously considering getting into a situation where, like, 50 to 60% of their cap will be tied up in 4 players.
The future implications are going to be interesting. Part of me is wondering if this is going to lead to a T. Higgins exit from Cincinnati. So the first out year on the T. Higgins deal is going to be 2027, where it would be $7.5 million dead cap hit. So I think they have some flexibility if they're willing to part with T. Higgins, which seems weird to like spend this big money on Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, and then, you know, it's only like going to be 2 years down the road where you're like, yeah, okay, well, that was fun, but we realized that we actually have to play defense after 3 years. So we're going to give that money to Dexter Lawrence, basically. But yeah, my initial reaction to the trade, I was shocked that Cincinnati would trade a top 10 pick at all, because like, while they shelled out money for all those guys, it's a pretty cheap franchise, and you would think that they would want the under market player that they're going to draft at 10, hopefully.
Yeah.
In defense of the trade, because in the last, how many, 2 days, I've come around on it a bit. Like, yes, number 10 is a lot for Dexter Lawrence. However, I think we tend to overvalue first round picks when we're in trades. And I think that we look at every first round pick, especially one that's as high as 10, and think, oh, well, you can't trade that. You're going to get a great player there. But not every first round pick results in a great player. We don't think about like, okay, well, if you're going to draft a bust or even an average player at that slot, I can understand the thought process of being like, hey, maybe they don't love this class. I would say, especially at the interior defensive line position, if that's
for sure.
If they've identified that as a weakness and they're like, we have to address that this offseason, you're not going to do that in this draft. I mean, not super well. There's no elite interior defensive linemen that are worth taking number 10. The first one is probably going to go off the board in the late 20s. Who's it? McDonald, the kid from Ohio State. And it's not a great class for interior defensive linemen in general. So if you're like, hey, we've identified this position, we have to address it. Dexter Lawrence has been one of the best in the league for a couple of years now. He is very talented. The talent is worth it. So like, if you're not going to hit that pick, I can understand wanting to have the certainty of having a Dexter Lawrence in the middle of your defense for the next few years, even if you're like, hey, we got to figure out the extension later. The Cincinnati Bengals are not exactly renowned for their draft prowess, I would say. I went and looked at their last 10 first-round picks. They did have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in there, but those were essentially no-brainers. Joe Burrow was the 1-1. He was the Heisman winner, the national championship winner, one of the best college quarterbacks we'd ever seen. Jamar Chase, super high-level wide receiver prospect who probably should have gone first overall, but fell to 5 because of weird COVID circumstances. He sat out a year. It was, stupid. Looking back on it, like, those are no-brainers. So those guys included, though, their last 10 first-round picks. Shamar Stewart, who we all know what a debacle that was last season, even trying to get him signed.
Yeah.
Amarius Mims, Miles Murphy, Dax Hill, who I'll give him some credit there. Dax Hill has been good. We like that pick. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, obviously two of the best players at their positions in the entire NFL. Jonah Williams, Billy Price, John Ross, and William Jackson. Just with the last 10 first-round picks alone, Matt, there was a 70% chance the Bengals were going to fuck this up anyway. So I actually look at it and I'm like, I don't really blame them for being like, you know what, let's just get a guy that we know is good.
In fairness, Mims has been respectable. Not what you would necessarily want out of a first-round pick, but he's still only 23, too. So,
yeah. But we all know that if you're not amazing right away, you suck. That's the world we live in. So,
and then if you get better later, everyone knew all along that you were gonna pan out.
You were always, we always knew. I never sold my stock. I have no Amarius Mims stock, just for disclaimers. Okay, fine. He's been okay. There's a 65% chance they would have fucked this up anyway. So I understand wanting the certainty. I also to be real with rookies, there is no guarantee they're going to be good right away, even if they are good eventually. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals are under a tremendous amount of pressure to actually win some football games here in the next few years. We've been calling for Zach Taylor to get fired for 3 years now? 2 years? Maybe almost since he got hired.
I mean, yeah, I was on that since he got hired. So.
But
I was never in favor of that hire.
Yeah, they are under a ton of pressure to win and win now. They need to compete for that division next year to save some people's jobs. So
yeah,
I think they're getting into a dangerous area And what I worry about with them is that they're getting into that like Milwaukee Bucks area of, hey, we have this star or stars on our team. We need to keep them happy. We have to like,
Yeah.
I think the coaching staff and the GM at the very least wants to be viewed as we are trying to win now.
Yeah.
Like they want
We
the
have
perception.
to go get Miles Turner to save the franchise.
Well, it's like, hey, if it doesn't work out, then that sucks. But hey, we tried. We did everything we could. And at least like, I think you can say that about the Milwaukee Bucks management as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they make the Drew Holiday trade and they end up winning a championship with Drew. So they that's like their first, hey, we're going all in with Giannis. Then they flip him and they make the Dame trade because the Bucks had been bad for a little bit of time there, not advancing in the playoffs. They're like, hey, Dame is available. We're going to go get him. Then the first season of Dame is a disaster. And they're like, okay, well, we can't just sit here and wait for Dame because obviously Dame didn't play this entire year either. So they're like, we have Giannis right now, the greatest player in the history of our franchise. We have to do something now. And what they do is they do something extremely stupid and they stretch Dame so that they can spend a bunch of money on Miles Turner, like you said. And I worry that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to start entering that area because like they're not competitive. They haven't been competitive. And a large part of that has been numerous injuries to Joe Burrow. But also, like, I just listed their last 10 first-round picks for you. 3 of them are hits, right? Like, this team has not particularly drafted well over the last couple of years. And so the roster is not good around those guys. Like, especially if you're going to pay all those guys all that money, you got to hit picks, especially high picks, and get that cheap labor in the door to support them.
Yeah.
But they, last year they drafted Shamar Stewart. That's not going well. Amarius Mims, like, okay, he's fine. Where's Miles Murphy even playing?
Yeah. Like, still, like, not what you need.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you need...
Not good enough.
You need that top flight tackle to keep Joe Burrow clean.
Mm-hmm. But so Cincinnati has already been fucking up these drafts, like I said. And I'm not saying that's a reason to like give up on the draft altogether, but my worry is that Cincinnati is starting to look at this like it's like Giannis. It's like we have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and to a lesser degree T. Higgins right now. We have to do something. We have to at least have the perception in the organization that we are doing everything we can to try and win. So I think it's a combination of those factors plus like they're in that like 10 to 14 range, kind of depending on how you feel about various prospects in this draft. The teardrop is right there from like there's the blue chip prospects, then there's the second tier prospects. And depending on how many like tier 2 guys you think there are, the Bengals pick is on the verge of that tier 2, tier 3 area.
Yeah, I guess where I sit is like, even if you were considering this trade, I still would have wanted to see who is on the board.
This was my last note. This was my last note too.
Because if, let's say, Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles falls there, yeah, you know what? That's better for your franchise than going out and getting Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence might help you win more games this year. But is Dexter Lawrence going to actually, like, have you guys win a playoff game, let alone actually push to win a Super Bowl? Because, point to me the Super Bowl team, the last Super Bowl team, that wasn't at its foundation built off of the draft.
Yeah, the Caleb Downs is actually the odds-on favorite to go number 10 overall right now. So I don't know that he'll be there, but that's what I'm saying is like, I had the exact same note that my biggest issue with this trade it's not necessarily the value for Dexter Lawrence, because like I just laid out the case of like, okay, I kind of get it. I can make the case for it. It's not like completely ludicrous. Like people were losing their minds when the trade actually happened. And I think everybody needed to take like a big swig of calm down juice and just exhale, guys, like relax. We can understand it a bit. However, I don't think that the Giants were going to pull the trigger on something else, knowing that number 10 was on the table. I think you could have waited till Thursday night to do this and seen who was on the board at 10, because you might be like, hey, we really like Arvell Reese and David Bailey, but we know that they're going to go in the top 5. What if they don't? Like,
I don't think that matters. No. If you're the Giants, your job is to make Jackson Dart work.
Yeah. No, I'm saying for Cincinnati to trade the pick that far ahead of the draft.
Yeah.
Like, if you're Cincinnati and you're like, well, we really like Reese, but we know he's not going to be there.
Yeah.
Like, what if he is, though? And now you don't even have the option. Like, at least if you held on to, like, the Giants, what I'm saying is the Giants were not going to trade Dexter Lawrence knowing that they have this trade for the 10th pick. Like, if Cincinnati was like, hey, we're thinking about giving you the 10, but we want to see who's there. I don't think the Giants are trading him somewhere else this week. I think they're sitting there and being like, okay, unless we get a call from like, Kansas City and they're like, we'll give you number 9.
Yeah.
I think you had time to do it and you could have waited if you were Cincinnati and like seen who was on the board.
Yeah, no.
So I don't like trading.
Kansas City can't do it. Their cap situation. So
no, just an example. Or like the Saints say like, hey, we'll give you number 8. So
so.
But overall, I feel like I see both sides of the trade more than, when it first happened, I was just like, oh man, and maybe like we should just do the blink test and be like, your first reaction is the right reaction, and then you'll talk yourself into it later. But I understand it more 72 hours removed.
I certainly understand it. For the Giants, absolute win. Getting that kind of value out of Dexter Lawrence, who it sounds like last year's lack of production was not we're playing through injury and more, oh, you're not going to give me a new deal? Okay. I don't think that's necessarily a secret in the league. So that's probably the maximum value that the Giants were ever going to get. I can understand why Cincinnati did it. That doesn't mean I don't think it's dumb.
Well, it's Cincinnati. So the odds
are...
Why
would I ever expect anything different?
Yeah, the odds are it's not going to work out in their favor. Speaking of the odds, before that happened, our planned topic of the day was to go through some of the gambling odds for the NFL draft and use that as like directional information to see who Vegas thinks is going to go where. Obviously, odds are not like the end all be all. Just because they say something doesn't mean it's definitively going to happen. I think there's been some really interesting swings in odds that I want to talk to you about. But before we get started, we are talking about gambling. So I just want to remind everybody that's listening to this episode to please gamble responsibly. Never bet more than you are willing to lose. We are on DraftKings. It is Tuesday, the 21st. I'm sure by the time you listen to the pod that the odds may have swung more. So these are the current DraftKings odds for the top picks in the draft. So number 1 overall, there no point in even talking about it. Fernando Mendoza minus 20,000 right now. Yeah. So you got to bet $20,000 to win 100, which everybody might say is like 100% a sure thing. Like, oh, I just bet my whole life savings on that and I won't get a huge return, but I'll get a return. Don't bet it. Don't do it. There's only downside because you never know what may happen before the Raiders go up and make that pick. Like, yes, 99.9% chance the Raiders get up there, they pick Fernando Mendoza, but like, you don't know what could come out about him in the next 48 hours. You don't know what could happen the day of the draft. Like, there's no upside.
Don't tell them about my bong video of him.
There's no upside. Matt's going to release the videos. we've been saying this for weeks. The draft starts at 2. Number 2 is where things get interesting. And when we did the mock last week, we're like, okay, Fernando Mendoza is going first. Who goes second? And we're like, yeah, the Jets could go a billion different ways. I don't know that anybody knows what the Jets are actually going to do. Because the odds right now, David Bailey is minus 130, the edge from Texas Tech. Arvell Reese is plus 100 to be that pick. The next closest player is Jeremiah Love at plus 8,000. So it's going to be Bailey or Reese. And the odds for which one of them it is going to be have swung more dramatically than any other bet we will talk about. Because 6 hours ago, when I was taking my notes, David Bailey was minus 125. Arvell Reese was minus 115. But this morning, when I first logged onto my computer, Arvell Reese was like minus 345. And there was a bunch of reports that the Jets had canceled a meeting with David Bailey, that Arvell Reese was running away with the odds. Something has flipped in the last 12 hours where it got to even like 6 hours ago. And now David Bailey has taken the lead. It's a little bit of a weird situation because all of the national guys are all like Peter Schrager and all the mock drafts and all that stuff are all saying it's going to be Arvell Reese, where all of the beat reporters in New York are all like, no, it's going to be David Bailey.
Which is strange to me because David Bailey is not the kind of player that has historically been the kind of edge that Aaron Glenn likes. He likes power first and foremost. He is not necessarily averse to a speed rusher, but him and Dan Campbell have very much were in lockstep of you have to earn the right to rush the passer. I would not say that run defense is David Bailey's calling card. So
I think it's still a question of like who is actually making the pick for the Jets front office, because like they may look at it and be like, oh, Arvell Reese is like a super flexible piece. We can move him all over the front seven. Yep. We can do a lot of things with him. And Woody Johnson's like, that guy from Texas had 14 and a half sacks, 19 and a half tackles for a loss. We're taking him.
What are the Madden ratings going to be? That's what we need to figure out.
I know. I could see David Bailey being higher just because of the speed and the production in college. Yeah. But yeah, so it'll be really interesting to keep an eye on. This pod's going to come out about 36 hours ahead of the NFL draft. And by the time this pod comes out, Arvell Reese could be the favorite here again. So a lot of uncertainty around what the Jets do at 2, but it seems like at that point it's going to be one of those 2 players, which we talked about on the mock. Is like I said, I think they'll go edge. It's just what flavor of edge do you want? And I guess we'll find out with them. Pick number 3, currently the Arizona Cardinals. So this is interesting as well because Arvell Reese is plus 145 to go here, and David Bailey is plus 155. Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, plus 320. And then nobody else is under plus 1,000. So it seems like what Vegas is saying right now is Fernando Mendoza goes 1. The Jets take one of David Bailey and Arvell Reese, the 2 edges, or really Reese is more of a linebacker that could play a bit of edge. And then the leftover one goes at 3. I am not convinced the Cardinals will draft an edge, though. And what the odds kind of symbolize to me right now is that the Cardinals are trying to trade back. And that someone else, because these picks are not like who will the Cardinals draft at 3. These odds are who will go 3rd in the NFL draft. Doesn't matter who drafts them. So There was a report earlier this week that the Cardinals were thinking about trading the pick, and if they couldn't trade the pick, they may be okay sitting there and taking Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame. I think that is a smokescreen trying to get someone to trade up either for one of those edges or for Jeremiah Love, because Love is still the favorite to go fourth, which is where the Titans are right now. However, Peter Schrager came out today and said the Titans are not interested in taking Love at 4. So there's like dueling smoke screens going back and forth.
Yeah.
But I think the Cardinals are going to look like whoever's left between Reese and Bailey. I'm not like sure the Cardinals could take one of those guys. They're both considered to be high level prospects. Maybe the Cardinals are happy to just say like, hey, we're cool picking whatever edge the Jets don't pick. I'll be interested to see if the Cardinals can swing a trade, because they've been linked to tackles. They desperately need a right tackle. Desperately.
Yes.
However, Spencer Fano and Maui Noah are not high level enough prospects to be taken third. So the Cards probably could trade back, still get their right tackle of the future. I wonder if the Chiefs would be willing to do 9 and 29 for 3 and go up there and get like Arvell Reese, if that is indeed who is left. And then if you're the Cards, you probably still get your tackle at 9, or at least like you have one of those guys left.
You want to talk about why it's a possibility? Look at the track record. Boy, do they trade.
Yup. Well, they trade. One name that we have not talked about a lot on this podcast is Ty Simpson, the quarterback from Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So the Cardinals have kind of been linked to him as well. He is actually plus 2,200 to go third, which is the fifth highest odds of that pick, which that in and of itself is not interesting because that probably means it's not going to happen. However, I got to find him. He's minus 200 to go in the first round now. And it wasn't that long ago in the draft process that we were all pretty sure this was going to be a one quarterback draft in the first round.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden the odds are saying Ty Simpson is probably going to go in the first round as well. And if I'm the Cards, I'm like, hey, if you really do like Ty Simpson, if you can get 9 and 29, that 9th pick is your tackle. That 29th pick is probably Ty Simpson for the Cardinals. And I think that his odds to go in the first round might be bumping up a little bit, because not necessarily the teams at the end of the first round, because his odds still say he's going to go, I think, over pick 27.5.
Yeah.
But I wonder if like some of the teams in the early second might want to trade up into those spots, because you get the 5th year of control. So if the quarterback is good, like you want that 5th year on the rookie deal. But I also look at him like, okay, could the Cards just like trade back, still get their tackle, still have a good shot at Simpson at 29? And if you're the Chiefs, you're looking at, potentially a massive difference maker in one of those edges.
If you are the Cardinals, that's probably your ideal scenario. And you at least get a year with Simpson, in your locker room to figure out if you really think he is going to be the guy going forward. Because there's a very real possibility that the Cardinals are in position to take a quarterback again next year. I don't think Ty Simpson is stopping you from taking a guy next year that you really believe in, unless he kind of shows you something at the very least in the locker room that you really believe in.
I don't know, man. I kind of look at the Cardinals and think that they're the classic, like, going to be too good to tank for one of the top quarterbacks next year. Like, I don't know that they will be in position to get a guy they like, because Jacoby Brissett was really good for them last year. If they fill in that right tackle spot, and then you have like Michael Wilson back, maybe Marvin Harrison takes a step forward, like they might win, I'm not saying a lot of games, but maybe they win like 5, and it's too many to put them in a position for an Arch Manning or a Dante Moore, and then you're settling for the JJ McCarthy's of the world in the draft, just like the Vikings had to, a couple of years ago. So I don't know. I mean, I think if they lock down that tackle position, I think if they like Simpson enough, you take him in the first round and kind of see what you got there. But if you're awful next year and, you do end up with pick 1 or pick 2, I don't think that, like you said, even though you spend that second first round pick on him, I don't know that he stops you from taking Dante Moore next year if that's your guy.
I don't know. I look at the Cardinals and outside of like a couple of positions like tight end, there's plenty of holes. They've got positions where like, okay, like you have some guys, but like certainly like you have a Marvin Harrison Jr., right? That's a starter caliber player. Certainly at this point, not something that anyone's going to call a needle mover.
Well, no, at wide receiver, you have a Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson is by far the best receiver on that team. He was incredible with Jacoby Brissett last year.
Yes, but like, are we approaching a top 10, top 15 wide receiver? No. Right? And so like, when we're really looking at like that translating to wins, I'm not worried about Michael Wilson getting us too many wins. So
I mean, are we not talking about a top 10 receiver in Michael Wilson? 78 catches, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns with Jacoby Brissett as his quarterback. He might be really good. He won a lot of people a fantasy championship last year. So
I was earlier on the Michael Wilson train in his career than most, but no, we're not approaching a top 10 wide receiver.
No, but I mean it's still like a pretty solid pass catching room. One with Trey McBride being, that's approaching a top 10 receiver right there. And then Michael Wilson, we'll see if Marvin Harrison can take a step forward next year, but I'll be interested to see what they do. I mean, maybe they do just sit in and take an Arvell Reese and they're like, we got a really good defender. He's going to help us fill some holes in the front 7. But my little warning flags are going up on this one. Number 4, the Titans right now, odds are Jeremiah Love is -115, Sonny Styles is -380, and then Bailey and Reese, assuming, if one of them fall, it's basically between Love and Styles. I know that like Schrager coming out today and being like, hey, they're not interested in Love at all might just be a smokescreen to try to make sure that nobody trades up to 3 and takes Jeremiah Love. But I said it on the pod last week. I'll say it again. I am fully convinced this is going to be Sonny Styles at 4.
That, like, to me, just sounds like the dude who gets rejected and he's like, whatever, you're ugly. I don't even want you anyways. Right? It's just like...
Well, but they could just sit here and take Jeremiah Love. They haven't gotten rejected yet. If anything, they're trying to depress the value of the third pick a little bit because they don't want to be like, we're sitting here and taking Love, and then the Giants are like, oh, we can...
No, like, there's no need to go to 3 to get him. He's going to be there. Don't worry about it.
He's not even that good.
Mid.
He's not good enough to be third.
He's a mid running back. Don't worry about it.
Talking about. It's possible. All the tea leaves have been there, I think, for weeks. And this is what I was talking about last week when I took Sonny Styles with this pick. So, that's the type of dude that Salah's going to want taking over the Titans. Like the way he runs his defense, the way that he had the San Francisco defense set up. You're going to have Jeffrey Simmons up front. Now you start building the second level with another weapon. Like, they can turn around that side of the ball pretty quickly with some like pretty big building blocks there.
Yeah, I could also see pairing Reuben Bain with Jeffrey Simmons as something that is very appealing to him. That being said, I don't know how much Salah is going to love Bain just because San Fran always like went after the really lengthy guys, I'm going to imagine that the power that he plays with is going to be hard to ignore. So,
Yeah, Bane is 6 in odds to go here. Seems like it's between Love and Styles right now, unless like a Bailey or a Reese falls. Pick number 5 is the Giants' first pick right now. Sonny Styles is plus 190. Jordan Tyson plus 275. Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State, plus 380. I should have said Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver from Arizona State. Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State. Jordan Tyson seems like he is suddenly going to be the biggest monkey wrench in how we thought this draft was going to play out. Because the Giants trade for number 10 the other day, and all of a sudden, there are rumors galore that the target is Jordan Tyson at number 10. And as soon as all those rumors start, there's counter rumors from like Washington and the Saints being like, well, you can't trade up to 10 to get Jordan Tyson because he won't be there. And all of us are like, what is going on? We had Jordan Tyson going in the 20s last week. Apparently, the NFL is not as concerned about the numerous and belligerent injury issues that Jordan Tyson had at his career at Arizona State. Yeah.
Mind you.
And rips and tears and lions and bears. Oh my. Jordan Tyson's stock is going through the roof right now. To like the point where I just said he's number 2 in odds to go 5th overall. All of a sudden, his odds to go in the top 10 are negative now, so he's minus 500 to go in the top 10 of this draft. So, I mean, top 10 was always going to be rich for me on him, but the fact that there's a very real possibility that he could go 5th overall is just starting to get crazy.
Yeah, like I said in the pre-show, now that the Giants have added the 10th pick in the draft, I definitely think that they are more likely to go with a luxury pick at 5. And boy, would I call Tyson a luxury pick, because you don't know if he's going to be on the field.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing with Jordan Tyson. I comped him to a glass cannon the other day when I was talking about the draft with my dad. If he's healthy, he can be very good, but that is a very, very large if. And you said it in the pre-show meeting, you lost Malik Neighbors for the whole year last year. You're worried about him coming back off an ACL. So you potentially spend the 5th overall pick in this draft on the most injury-prone prospect in the entire draft. Seems like crazy town to me. But Jordan Tyson plus 250 to go top 5 right now. So Fernando Mendoza not even on the board because we know where he's going. But David Bailey and Arvell Reese both minus 4,000. Jeremiah Love minus 400. Sonny Styles plus 115. Tyson plus 250 to be a top 5 pick. And the really interesting thing, we'll see if this flip. Maybe this will flip by the time that you guys hear this. But if we go into first selected positions and look at wide receivers, Carnell Tate is minus 200 to be the first receiver off the board. Jordan Tyson is plus 130 to be the first receiver. This is why I'm saying that this is like a huge monkey wrench potentially, though, is everybody else seems to like Carnell Tate more, like the Browns and the Commanders and the Saints, all these other teams that could potentially draft a wide receiver in the top 10. But the Giants may like Jordan Tyson so much, and they may be nervous that he's not going to be there when they pick again at 10, that Jordan Tyson could very well be the 5th overall pick in this draft. Jordan Tyson's odds to also be other picks here are going up. Apparently, like like I said, those other wide receiver needy teams are also looking at him. Like New Orleans is picking 8th. Jordan Tyson is the odds-on favorite to be the number 8 pick at plus 200. It seems like what has happened is that Jordan Tyson has become the number 2 wide receiver on NFL teams' big boards, ahead of Mekhi Lemon, and some of the other guys we may see go a little bit later in the first round. But it seems like the value that NFL teams, maybe not all of them, but like just kind of consensus have on these guys right now is that Tate and Tyson are the top two receivers in some order. I don't think everybody has Tyson number 2. Obviously, the Giants don't. And that they're both going to be top 10 picks in this draft. Mekhi Lemon, his draft stock is actually suffering from this. He's minus 160 to go over pick 14.5. So we had talked about him potentially like going to the Dolphins in there. I think the Cowboys are always a threat to take a wide receiver, or the Ravens. And we were like, oh, maybe he even slides up a little bit if one of those teams, like, you know, if Tate goes 6, maybe he slides up a little bit. But he seems to be the one whose stock has gotten hurt by this Jordan Tyson skyrocketing. So speaking of Carnell Tate, Cleveland, the number 6 pick, Carnell Tate is the odds-on favorite, plus 300. Spencer Fano, plus 380. Another weird situation here because if you look at the odds for first lineman taken, Maui Noah is minus 230. Fano is plus 200. But then we go through the draft, and the first time that a lineman is one of the like top 3 potential picks here, it's Fano instead of Maui Noah. So it seems like Cleveland, there's some info out there that Cleveland likes Fano more. If I was going to bet on that, I would bet Fano because the story came out that Maui Noah does in fact need back surgery for a slip disc, and some teams see it as a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, it's one of those things that from the outside looking in, not having the medicals, impossible to tell. But yeah, I mean, with the information that there are concerns about it, yeah, I would definitely expect Fano to kind of take over that spot on a lot of teams' boards.
Pick 7 is Washington. Carnell Tate plus 225, Love plus 425, Styles plus 450. We have Mansour Delane on the board at plus 600, Jordan Tyson plus 600. So it seems like number 5 could be Jordan Tyson. Or maybe they go Sonny Styles and say, you know what? We're fine. Like, we'll wait for 10 to try to get Tyson. Tate's the favorite at 6. Tate's the favorite at 7. Going back to now to number 8 with New Orleans, Tyson is the favorite at 8 at plus 200. Tate plus 400. Mansour Delane plus 425 to go to the Saints. I don't know. The way I look at it right now, I don't really think the Giants can afford to wait for number 10 if they want Jordan Tyson that badly. Because it seems like what's going to happen is that Tate either goes 6 or 7. If he goes 6, maybe Tyson goes 7, maybe Tyson goes 8. Like, one of these teams is taking a wide receiver, 6, 7, 8. It's probably Carnell Tate. It seems like those teams all have Carnell Tate above Jordan Tyson on their board. However, all 3 of them are a threat to take a wide receiver. And it seems like most of them have Tyson second. So tough for New York to just get their love for Jordan Tyson thrown out there immediately after they make the trade. This is also kind of why I would advocate on the Giants side. Maybe you also would have wanted to wait until the draft to see who's there at 10. I mean, I think you're probably taking that pick either way in that Dexter Lawrence trade. And you're like, okay, we can pivot to like Caleb Downs or someone defensively. But like this Jordan Tyson thing is really like mucking up this draft right now. He's all over the place.
Yeah, like for the Giants there, like, okay, say Tyson isn't there and you didn't take him there at 5, right? Either Downs or Styles or Delane, like someone you're going to be probably pretty happy with at the 10th overall pick is probably going to find their way there.
Yeah. You didn't say it right. Mansour Delane.
Well,
Like, it's such a fun name to say. I just love it. It's the best.
yeah, it is the best name in the draft in a long time, honestly.
I really like it. Kansas City. So the 9 pick is Kansas City right now. Ruben Bain Jr. is the odds-on favorite at plus 370, which, like, of course he is. After that report came out that he was in a car accident that put someone in a coma.
Yeah,
Seems like a very, very Kansas City pick to just take
for
him there.
sure.
Monsua Delane plus 400. He's right behind Bain. So Bain's plus 370, Delane is plus 400. Watch, like, Mansour Delane's actually not even in any of these. I'm just, like, making it up. Just want to keep saying it over and over again. Jordan Tyson plus 450, Spencer Fano plus 500, Maui Noah plus 900. Again, Fano ahead of Maui Noah, but the odds for the first offensive lineman off the board is Maui Noah ahead of Fano. So that may change in the next couple of days. Then the number 10 pick, back to the Giants. Caleb Downs plus 290, Tyson plus 400, Vega Ione plus 500 as well. So, you started to say it earlier. The Giants, their whole deal is to make sure that Jackson Dart works. Could they, maybe their original plan was like, we get a defender like Sonny Styles at 5, we add Jordan Tyson at 10, we go home happy. I've also seen some people suggest, like, could it be Jordan Love at 5 and Jordan Tyson at 10 and, like, really put some offensive weapons around Jackson? Like, if they did that, that's a fun offense. Malik Neighbors, Jordan Tyson when he's healthy, Jeremiah Love, Cam Scattaboo, Tyrone Tracy, all on that back door. Yeah. For 5 games a year, it's going to be great. It'll be great. But they do. So since I did my notes this morning, they start going into more picks. So Fano and Maui Noah are the favorites for pick 11. Monsua Delane and Ruben Bain, favorites for number 12, which I believe is the Cowboys. Mekhi Lemon is still the favorite for 13 for the Dolphins. But also, like I said, he's minus 165 to go over 14.5. So there may be some value one way or another there. That's a weird one because number 13, Mekhi Lemon, plus 190. The next highest is Kenyon Sadiq at plus 750. And yet they're also saying that Mekhi Lemon is going to go over pick 14.5. A little weird.
Mekhi Lemon is, like, to a T, what the Rams look for in a wide receiver. That is the exact play style that they are looking for.
Do you want me to give you the odds for pick 17?
I've already looked at it, and I vehemently disagree with the top odds.
Yeah. Caden Proctor plus 265, Monroe Freeling plus 300, Vega Ione plus 750, Fano plus 900, Jermod McCoy plus 1,100.
So I know how much smoke there is around the Caden Proctor thing. The thing that makes me say you guys are clearly smelling your own farts on whatever sources you have is, even by the Lions standards over the last several years, they have been very tight-lipped this offseason. Like, extremely tight-lipped. To the point where even when we have signed guys, it is taking longer for the details of the contracts to come out. So why would it be this one thing that is also, like, most critical probably to the future of the franchise that the Lions would potentially be letting it get leaked out that their preferred pick would be Caden Proctor? Like, none of that tracks.
Because God hates you. You decided to be a Lions fan, and God said, no, not on my watch. You will be miserable, and you will get Caden Proctor, and you will like it.
Yeah, I mean, that the logic just isn't there on that. Not to mention that he's like, well, wants to play at 390 pounds and can't stay on his feet. But
Yes.
look,
Join us next week on Fouled Out when Matt does a 180 on Caden Proctor and starts explaining why it was a good pick at 17.
There will not be a 180 if that's the case. I can promise you that.
I hope it doesn't happen because we're going to be together on Thursday night, which I'm looking forward to watch round one. And it will ruin our night if the Lions take Caden Proctor at 17. I guarantee it.
I will be so fucking drunk if that happens.
Oh, God. I will be buying beer on Thursday. I was looking at Caden Proctor and Monroe Freeling. They're plus 550 and plus 600 respectively to go top 10. Yeah, I do wonder, there's been some, like you said, there's been some buzz, there's been some smoke about like teams having those guys higher on their board potentially than Fano and Maui Noah. And so I do wonder if that is another monkey wrench we could see is like, the Cleveland Browns, we're all expecting them to take Tate or Fano. And they're like, we're going to take Caden Proctor. That's who we like. And it's like,
that is one of the rumors that I have heard is that like, Caden Proctor at 6 could very much be the pick. It would be a very Browns pick, so I guess on some level I buy it, but I'm like, it's just hard for me to believe anyone's that stupid. But
but if anybody was going to be that stupid, it's the Cleveland Browns.
It would be the Cleveland Browns.
So, odds to go in the first round of the NFL draft. Some somewhat interesting ones right now. Ty Simpson minus 200. We talked about that. This has been seen as a one quarterback in the first round type of draft for quite some time. Now, all of a sudden, he is making a push. It seems, like I said, that like some of the teams that are in the high second round may be interested in trading into the back of the first to get a 5th year of control or a 5th year of a rookie deal on him. The corners are like flying up the board right now. Man, like Colton Hood, the corner from Tennessee, is minus 380 to go in the first round. He has better odds to go in the first round than Jermod McCoy does. And I know there's injury issues with McCoy, but McCoy was seen as the better corner. Not to mention Chris Johnson, the corner from San Diego State University, is minus 250 now as well. The guy who has suffered seems to be Avion Terrell from Clemson. He's plus 165 to go in the first round. It seems like he's moved down. But Hood and Johnson were like not guys that have been talked about as first round prospects until just recently. So it seems like the value of the corners is going up. You talked about Malachi Lawrence on the pod, or you asked me about him a couple weeks ago, kind of like a freak athlete at the edge position. He is minus 200 to be a first round pick. That is ahead of guys like Caden McDonald, TJ Parker, and Peter Woods.
Yep.
So he's moving up. The other one I thought was interesting, Chase Basantis is minus 150 to go in the first round, while Emmanuel Pregnon is, last I saw, he's plus 450 now. He was plus 600 earlier. But it seems like Basantis has taken the number 2 guard spot from Emmanuel Pregnon, both behind Vega Ione. But I think Pregnon was, like, for the majority of the lead up to this draft, has been the number 2 guard, and all of a sudden Basantis seems to be the one that's going to go end of the first.
Yeah, and I think some of that is just going to come down to, like, a team's preference, what they like to run and all that.
Some of what the odds are telling us, at least, is, like, corner, people are starting to like the corner class a lot more, you know, and then Basantis is, in the eyes of Vegas, at least, taking that over. We talked about, like, the Chargers desperately needing interior offensive line help. So I wonder if that's someone they could target at, what are they, 23, I believe. Player over unders, Vega Ione, minus 310 to go under 14.5. Seems like in that 10 to 14 range, like, he is going, is what they're saying. And the Ravens are his floor, which I think makes a lot of sense for the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Mekhi Lemon, we talked about. Jordan Tyson to go under 8.5 minus 200. So I think the Giants fucked up trying to get him. He might have to go 5th. I would keep an eye on him at 5. Jeremiah Love minus 400 to go under 5.5. So they're still pretty set on he's going to be a top 5 pick in this draft, even though I don't know at this point. Honestly, like the way I kind of see it right now is Fernando Mendoza 1st, Reese and Bailey 2 and 3, in whatever order the Jets decide to make it. Sonny Styles at 4 to Tennessee. And I'm really leaning towards Jordan Tyson at 5. Like if I had to do a predicting mock, I would put Jordan Tyson at 5 right now, as batshit crazy as that sounds to say. And maybe that's all smoke screens. Maybe I'm falling for the smoke screens right now, and they just sit in and they're like, yeah, we're just going to take Jeremiah Love, or we're going to take Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs, or just one of the blue chip guys. But I don't know, man. The numbers are saying a different story right now.
It's tough because, like, does that feel like a John Harbaugh pick? I would lean no.
I'm going to lean yes, because if we know anything about John Harbaugh, he wants to throw the goddamn ball only when he shouldn't.
That's true. Yes.
But that also makes me think he's going to draft Jeremiah Love, make the playoffs, and then only run it 5 times with Jeremiah Love in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, it could be either one. Any other like last minute NFL draft thoughts before we talk a little bit of basketball?
I was thinking, given that this is our last pod before the actual draft, we could do a super brief homework corner. Any particular realistic options that you want for your Patriots at 31?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked this, because this week I've been getting really into Maxi Ionichor, the tackle from Arizona State. I actually like.
He's a fun ball, Clay.
Yeah, I was thinking edge for the Patriots, which I think if we look at going back to the odds here, since this was the theme of the pod, teams first selection odds. Were we not on here anymore? We were earlier. Oh, okay. Well, the AFC East is not on the odds right now.
The Bengals shook everything up too much.
Just Buffalo has odds right now. The Patriots don't have odds. But when I looked earlier, edge and defensive line was still, I think, like plus 200, but tackle was like plus 310 right behind it. And the more I look at it, the more I'm like, there's going to be a lot of edges going in the first round. But edge is also like really deep, where there's probably going to be between 17 and 20 in the first like 100 picks. Could you wait for round 2 and take like a Dennis Sutton, the edge from Penn State, or like, guys of that caliber, and get like a Maxi Ionichor at 31? Because they are, Will Campbell aside, Morgan Moses is the other tackle, and he's not long for the Patriots starting 5. He should be fine again this year. He was pretty good last year, but they need a future plan, because we talked about like the Giants' job is to make Jackson Dart work, and the Tennessee's job, they got to make Cam Ward work. Well, the Patriots' job is still to make Drake May work. Like,
absolutely,
that is number one overall. Is you do everything you can for Drake May.
Way ahead of schedule this year.
I know. Well, that's the thing, is like I don't want to lose sight of the fact that this is going to be year 3, and they're trying to add AJ Brown soon, which seems more likely than not that will happen. Don't do what the Chargers are going to do this year and like have everything in place except for like this one spot on the offensive line and fuck it up. So Ionichor is someone that's interesting to me. I'd also be fine with an edge. I actually like, Malachi Lawrence maybe from UCF, like the genetic freak type of edge, and see if that can pop. TJ Parker, I think, is still a good pick for us, but I mean, I was going to ask you who you want the Lions to take at 17, but I already know it's Caden Proctor.
At this point, literally anyone other than him.
Monroe Freeling it is.
I actually would very much like Monroe Freeling. You know, he played left last year, so it allows us to keep, you know, the best right tackle on earth at right tackle. I really, really like Blake Miller as well. If we're going to move Kane to left, Blake Miller is going to come in as, in all likelihood, a solid starter as a rookie. And he fits the culture perfectly to a T. I mean, like, if we do go edge, for me, it's either got to be Falk or TJ Parker. Those are the only guys that I think really fit. I know Falk isn't necessarily going to, like, probably shine as a pass rusher right away, but, like, you know what? You got to bet on that athletic upside and another guy who fits the culture to a T. This weekend is going to tell us much more about the Kirby Joseph situation than any of Dan or Brad's press time this entire offseason has. If they ignore the safety position, then that means they probably feel pretty good about him. I would not be upset with Dylan Tiedemann if we are not super sure about his long-term prospects. You just can't ignore that situation if you aren't confident that Kirby Joseph is gonna be good for, you know, the rest of his contract.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess for us too, I could see the first pick being a tackle, and I think the vast majority of our draft picks are going to be defensive this year, which I know the Patriots had a really good defense last year, but I think like depth, like if they go tackle in the first, it's probably edge in the second, linebacker in the third, probably another corner in there somewhere. They might draft like a tight end. I could see Sam Roush from Stanford is someone I'm kind of interested in day 2. But yeah, it's funny because we kind of both want our teams to do the same things.
Yeah.
Like we need tackles, we need edges, we need all this stuff, but my team is 14 picks later than yours this year. So we're not really like shopping in the same pool. Although I did just mix up those metaphors. We're shopping in the same pool. We're not swimming in the same pool. We're not shopping in the same store.
Wait, you don't shop in a pool?
We're not swimming in the same store, Matt. I did do a mock draft on PFF where the Patriots got Blake Miller at 31, and I was like, I want to live in this world. It's the perfect world for me, but that's not happening.
I would be absolutely stunned if Blake Miller was available, Monroe Freeling was available, and they went with Caden Proctor. I've also heard beat reporters say, and they didn't go into detail because they weren't able to confirm the story, but that they had heard enough stories about what's not necessarily like character concerns for Caden Proctor, but like sounded more like maturity issues. And this is just not a team that is in a place to gamble on that right now. We're all very happy that Jameson Williams worked out, but like we need our tackle to be here, and we cannot have that situation take place at tackle.
Yeah. Well, for your sake, I hope it's not Caden Proctor because it's going to ruin my night.
And for your sake, because you'll have to deal with me.
It is going to ruin our night. All right, so NBA playoffs, just real quickly for a little bit before we sign off. I gave you 48 hours of not having to talk about the Pistons, but
Talk about smelling your own farts.
Man.
That Pistons definitely came into that game thinking that they were going to walk over Orlando and truly never recovered from that. The only reason the game was ever close was Cade Cunningham.
Yep.
Who didn't he put up like 39? Like,
yeah, 36, 39, something like that.
Yeah, he almost put up 40 and still lost. So I'm not worried about the series. If this series goes more than 6 games, then I will be concerned about the team. Like, that the reaction should be, all right, like, we got to take care of business. Also, JV, the fuck are we doing with these rotations? Why is Kevin Huerter playing more minutes than Javonte Green? I really don't like Caris LeVert, but he shouldn't be playing more minutes than Caris LeVert. Paul Reed didn't play any minutes, but Paul Reed has been the guy who has bailed us out time and time again when we had no one.
Well, I need to ask you a question about this roster. How is Malik Monk not on the Pistons? To be clear, I'm not worried about the Pistons in this series overall. I think like my other thing I wanted to get to, so I'll just hit it real quick, is like we really, really need to stop overreacting to every single NBA playoff game. Specifically, like with the Magic, they lose that first play-in game to the 76ers. And everybody and their mother is talking about blowing up the Magic and trading away Paolo. And there was numerous like big time media personalities that were like, oh, could the Kings trade number 4 overall and Zach LaVine for Paolo Banchero? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I would absolutely do that tomorrow. He's a very good player and he's very young still. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, they beat the shit out of media darling Charlotte Hornets. And then they beat the Pistons in game 1. And like I'll give the Magic some credit. They played a good game. They
showed up and they did exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah, but I want to talk about your team in a sec because I have some thoughts. But like they beat the Pistons in game 1, and now everybody's like, oh my God, it's all over for the Pistons. What's going on? We knew this team was a bunch of frauds, and like, could the Magic go to the Eastern Conference Finals? What's stopping them at this point? I'm like, okay, I fully expect the Pistons to bounce back and beat them by 30 tomorrow. If they lose both games in Detroit, then that's when I'll start getting concerned because we're at least going 6 and probably not in a very good direction. But I did think the game didn't worry me so much against the Magic. It worries me more for the future matchups of the Pistons, like the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Celtics, and potentially an NBA Finals matchup, where I thought a lot of the issues the Pistons had this year, although there weren't many because they won 60 basketball games, they kind of reared their ugly head where it was all Cade all the time. And all of the guys who, like, when Cade was out, they were like, oh, Jalen Duren and Dennis Jenkins and all these guys are going to be that secondary creator, like get a shot for themselves kind of guys. That all completely disappeared against the Magic the other day.
So here's my counterpoint to that on the roster. And I don't disagree that we need another shot creator. In that game, like, I don't even know that it's a roster issue. It's more like the way it has worked out for the Pistons over the course of the season is they've made up for that with like the high energy guys like coming through. And you didn't play them. You didn't play Javonte Green, who has been crucial for the Pistons all year. Paul Reed didn't play a minute. But we're leaning on Kevin Huerter for 18 minutes, who like has been bad since like one run years ago in Atlanta. Like, that's the guy that we're leaning on off the bench to score for us.
Yeah, I was going to say yes to everything you just said. Yes. And you're spending $18 million on Kevin Huerter. You know how much Malik Monk makes? $18 million.
$18 million.
And why? I mean, I guess I don't know the inner workings.
What about Malik Monk? Like,
there was numerous times before and during last season the Pistons were linked to Monk, and
yeah,
it wasn't happening.
yeah.
And like
I
not that
don't know why, because I feel like that is such a better fit for this team.
well, he just is like the type of dude who he can come off your bench and, you know, do some scoring and be consistent.
Yeah.
But also sometimes he can come off your bench and give you 40.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Go back and look at
No.
the 7-game series the Kings played against the Warriors in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He had a 32, a 28, a 26. Like, he's had numerous
Yeah.
40 burgers for the Kings.
Yeah.
I also wish he was on your roster because we won more games than we should have this year, purely based on the fact that Malik Monk came off the bench and scored 30 or 40 fucking points.
Yeah.
So it just, I don't understand why he's not valuable in the NBA when he is a dude in a playoff series who can come off the bench and create his own shot and create offense for others and score a high volume. And I watched a lot of guys in the first couple games of all of these series and thought, okay, Malik Monk can play in all of these series and play well.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you on that. I think too, though, like looking at game one and the minutes that were played, in fairness to Kevin Huerter, like he didn't create his situation, but it is honestly a disrespect to guys like Devontae Green and Paul Reed that, like, this guy who was brought in over halfway through the season is getting these playoff minutes that they're not getting. And he didn't produce, right? And it's like, I don't think it's even fair to expect him to produce in that situation, despite his salary. I would be pissed if I'm Paul Reed.
Yeah. I also have just never seen a team, especially one that's as good defensively as the Pistons.
Oh, the rotations were so bad.
They completely forgot how to play a pick and roll. Completely. Yeah. I really just didn't understand what was going on, and I need to see the adjustments out of JB and the coaching staff, because there was numerous plays in the third quarter where Franz Wagner, like, he gets a pick and just goes straight. Like, there's no one there. Jalen Duren is nowhere to be found protecting that rim. There's absolutely no one even in the paint for the Pistons, and he just goes and dunks it like 4 different times. I'm like,
and then like we'll have 2 guys sprint to the guy in the corner, and then we got a guy wide open for a 3 on the wing, and it's like that's not how you do any of that.
Yeah.
So it's just.
Well, I fully expect them to bounce back in game 2. I think they'll look at that game 1 tape and be like, what the fuck are we doing? But also
the biggest concern for me is the rotations. I think that has been the main critique that has been made of JB since he has arrived here in Detroit. It got better throughout this season, but it seems to have resurfaced at potentially the worst possible time. So
the fact that you're not 100% locked into what the rotation should be during game 83 of the season is concerning. But like, also the Celtics just lost to the 76ers.
Yeah.
And nobody is going to wake up tomorrow being like, oh my God, the sky's falling. We knew the Celtics were frauds, blah, blah, blah. They're going to be like, oh yeah, it's a series.
I knew the Celtics were frauds.
They're going to be like, oh yeah, it's a series. They'll bounce back. It'll be fine, which is what I expect for the Pistons as well.
I will laugh so hard if the Sixers somehow win this series.
They wanted Boston and they got them, damn it. My other, like, real quick, like, first round of the NBA playoffs takes, and we're going to be back. Matt and I will be back next week with the post-draft episode, and then we're going to dive into NBA playoffs full-time. But 2, real quick, I wanted to throw out. One, I think that this playoffs is going to be Victor Wembanyama's water cooler moment, for lack of a better word. I think this is going to be the moment where he transcends basketball, and people that who are either like casual basketball fans or not basketball fans at all are going to be like, have you seen this Victor Wembanyama guy? You seen this French guy in San Antonio? And I'm going to be like, yes, I've been talking about it for 5 fucking years on the podcast.
Yeah.
I was talking about Victor Wembanyama 2 years before he was even in the draft.
Yeah.
You know?
You see this sentient
exactly
giant armature that's playing in the NBA?
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, I know exactly who the fuck that is. But I think that this is when the casuals finally are like, oh, this is the next guy in the Jordan, Kobe, LeBron lineage of like, all others be damned. This guy is the face of the league for however long his body will let it happen. And that, like, part 2 of this take is like, I think Victor Wembanyama is reminding all of us that, like, for the truly great transcendent stars, they're just on a different level. Like, people have been like, oh, Jokic is like a top 10 all-time guy. He's not. I love Jokic. He is great for his generation. He's going to be a player who's great in his generation, like Hakeem and, all these other guys. He is not one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it looks like when one of the all-time greats starts to take over.
Yeah, like, he is not a Mount Rushmore kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Wembanyama is like a truly transcendental player. Like, this is something that's completely different. This is like on the, I mean, and I know I'm not trying to be like hyperbolic because it's his first playoffs, but like, just what he can do on an NBA court and what we saw him do this season. This is what it looks like when the LeBrons and the Jordans of the world start cropping up.
There is truly no one who can come close to what he... Which makes Rudy Gobert's comments from last night even more hilarious, because he said that he felt like he was snubbed of Defensive Player of the Year, where he was 4th in the ranking, which is probably honestly the best he should have even been able to hope for.
I will say, in Rudy's defense, he was really, really good on Jokic in the 4th quarter last night. Like, really good. And that's why the Wolves won.
But it's not an award for last night.
Nope. But yeah, Wemby is the first unanimous Defensive Player of the Year ever, and also the youngest person to ever win the award simultaneously. I don't think that we can properly quantify. I think there is no number that exists that can properly quantify Wembanyama's impact on defense, and that's scary. My other take, just speaking of LeBron James, I know you're not going to like this, but game 1 against the Rockets, I think, is the most I've enjoyed LeBron James in quite some time. And I'm not a LeBron hater. I've enjoyed LeBron.
He played a really good, smart game.
Yeah. Very, like, veteran savvy game by LeBron. Luke Kennard just lighting up the
Luke
Rockets.
Kennard game.
I don't know. I think, like, game 2 of that is tonight. So by the time you guys hear this, you will know the results. We do not have the benefit of knowing them right now. But, like, Houston set all sorts of records for, like, being the first team. I think, like, they took 90 shots in that game. Yeah, so Houston took 93 shots and only scored 98 points. They had the free throws were basically even. Like, they hit more threes than the Lakers. They beat the Lakers on offensive rebounds 21-3. Like, there's so many. They won the turnover. The Rockets won the turnover battle. They just truly cannot fucking shoot without Kevin Durant. Like, they shot 35 of 93 from the floor for 38%, while the Lakers shot 40 of 66, which is 61%. I texted you the other day and said, if the Lakers can just, like, extend this series enough where they could potentially get Luka and or Austin Reeves back, that they will easily win this series. with those guys, and just taking game one might have pushed it. Like the series is so long because it's every like third day that they're playing.
Yeah.
They really stretched the series out for LeBron and Kevin Durant. I don't know, man. I really liked watching LeBron the other night. He 19, 8, and 13. And like just really veteran savvy, really strategic, picked his spots. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I just think I know how much everybody hates LeBron. And there's a lot of valid reasons. So. Yeah, there's a lot of valid reasons.
He's earned every one of them. Well,
yes.
Not everyone, most of them, but
yes,
some of them not so much.
But I think you should all enjoy LeBron while he's still here.
Yeah.
I think it gets to a point, and I said this about Tom Brady as well when he was in the end of his Patriots career and in his Bucs career, is just like, I think you will all miss this guy when he's gone. As much as people are like, oh my God, we hate him so much. It's fun to have someone to hate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's enjoyable to hate somebody. That's cool. I think in one way or another, all of us will miss LeBron when he's gone. He's been a massive part of our lives for longer than any other NBA player in the history of basketball. And he's playing at a really high level at an age that nobody has ever played at. Like nobody's ever played at this level at this age before also. So just, I mean, whether they lose to the Rockets or get smoked by OKC, whatever happens, just try to enjoy it while he's still here. I think he deserves that. But that is it for us. As always, Fouled Out can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Overcast, anywhere you get your podcast. You can hit us up on Gmail, fouledoutsports@gmail.com, and you can watch the podcast on YouTube. Go search Fouled Out Sports. Give us a like and subscribe over there to help us grow that channel. Matt is coming over on Thursday to watch round one. We have the draft all weekend. There is hockey playoffs. There's basketball playoffs, all sorts of fun things. Matt and I will be back next week, probably Tuesday, the 28th. So I think we're going to record Monday. So it'll come out Tuesday with our draft reactions, kind of breaking down everything that happened and what to make of it. And then after that, we're diving into NBA playoffs full time. So hopefully your team is still around to see that, because the media says you're dead. That's it. Orlando is sweeping. Well, we're done.
The media has never been wrong, so
no need to watch
this.
We're
done.
All right, my friend. I will see you on Thursday night.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye, Mom.
Bye, Robin.